Well, hello everyone, and you join us today with a little bit of a question. We are wondering what the most complicated watch ever made is, and so to answer that question, Tom and I scurried off, had a little look around, and found some of the most complicated watches that have ever been made. And we made some pretty interesting and amusing discoveries along the way. To start off, let's just get started. Tom, what have you found?
Okay, what's small, silver, and unfolds infinity in 4 chapters?
The Nissan Micra?
No, I don't know why it would be that. The Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso Hybris Mechanica Caliber 185 from last year.
Well, I think we did Jaeger-LeCoultre a little bit of a disservice, actually, because when we did our roundup of the best watches of 2021, I completely forgot about this. And it's an unforgettable watch, so I hold myself entirely to blame.
Yeah, amazing piece. So this is JLC's most complicated Reverso ever, and it's the world's first watch with 4 functioning faces, 4 dials, with 11 complications. So the Reverso usually has 1 face and 1 protective side of the case that you can flip around. Or sometimes you can have like a day and night kind of vibe going on if you're Batman. But this one has a different dial for each side, and then on the actual seating, like the strap of the Reverso is another 2 faces, and each face is crazier than the last.
Well, this kind of reminds me a little bit, I don't know if you've ever done this, you're writing a note to yourself on a post-it note and you think, oh yeah, I've got plenty of room, and you write nice big letters, plenty of space so you can read it later, and you realise very quickly that you've run out of space and you have to start getting creative with that space. I feel like that's what Jaeger-LeCoultre has done here, because typically, like you say, they would have a dial on the front and you can see the movement through the back, or sometimes they might have a dial on the front and a dial on the back. Here they've really used every ounce of space in a way that almost seems impossible.
Yeah. But I think you're doing JLC a disservice again. How dare you? Because your post-it analogy falls down because I feel like it's really readable. It's really clean. It's bursting with functions and movements and complications, but I feel it's all quite sort of neatly laid out. They haven't started to get smaller as they've got closer to the edge of the dial. It's all very nicely laid out. I mean, whether or not you can read it, it looks very complicated. It looks like you could navigate a spaceship with it or something. It's all the dials look very esoteric.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't go time, perpetual calendar, minute repeater, indications of the Sidoniac, Draconian. It's all very nicely presented, and it really represents JLC as much a watchmaker but an engineer as well. Because if you think about the heritage of JLC, it's very much comes from an engineering background and applying good quality knowledge of engineering to what was poor quality Swiss watchmaking at the time, to effectively invent what we see today in high quality Swiss watchmaking. So once again, this is real, well, you can almost say it's literally outside of the box of the watch case thinking. So you go, oh, hang on, why don't we use the rest of it as well?
Yeah, it's like a greatest hits of JLC's complications and all their passion and precision and expertise all kind of rolled into one.
Well, it's certainly unexpected.
Yeah, let's get into some of the things that it does. So you've got 11 complications. You've got the most advanced lunar phase mechanism in a watch. You've got a perpetual calendar, which is a new patented mechanism for a perpetual calendar because they've had to sort of fit it around a tourbillon, which is also crammed in there. You've got 3 lunar displays, synodic, draconic and anomalistic, and it can also provide readings of the cosmos, like predicted incidences of supermoons and eclipses.
Can it tell me what mood I'm in though?
Yeah, kind of. So what happens is it's got a global hyperwear strap that changes colour when you get hot or cold. Do you know what I mean? So it's not really accurate. It just can only tell when you're hot or cold, really, and then it sort of gets more orange. But that's about it.
I like as well with the design of this thing. I mean, I think there are only 10 made. That not only is it not ridiculously massive, 51 by 31 millimeters, 15 millimeters thick. I mean, this is almost normal sized watch.
Yes, yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? You've got all this stuff, like 11 complications, tourbillon perpetual calendar, minute repeaters, these moon phase complications, all crammed into a nice user-friendly polo watch.
So mid polo, if you want to know what the apogee of the lunar cycle is.
Yeah, when the next eclipse is.
Hang on a minute. Can we play now? Because we're going to be playing for an hour, and I want to know if there's going to be a lunar eclipse in the next hour that's going to ruin the game.
Yeah, amazing.
What fascinates me with this kind of watch is, like, let's be honest, it's useless. But then again, so is driving on the road at 300 miles an hour. All of these things that we do, they don't really have any express goal except to demonstrate what can be done. And I love that. It doesn't matter that if you do want to know the draconian lunar cycle is, you have to take the watch off to look at the back. It doesn't really matter. The fact that they have made the two inside and outsides, and for people who aren't familiar with the Reverso, we're talking about a very thin piece of metal that houses 2 of the 4 dials this watch has. The fact that they could even think of it and then execute it just blows my mind.
You say it's useless. I think it's only useless in this universe. I think somewhere there's a guy building an airship and his house looks like this watch.
And he lifts his goggles up to read it.
Yeah. I just think it's fascinating. It is like something from another world. It's like, I don't know, I loathe to say steampunk or something, but it just definitely feels like a tiny machine from a different universe.
And it could, this touches upon what you were saying about the clarity of the watch. Not only is it easy to read and well laid out, but traditional watchmaking is all about, let's put another subdial on, let's put another subdial on, and I'm sure we'll probably see that in this list of high complication watches. Even the way that JLC lays out the complications and how they fit them in feels like something that's not been done before. Like, open up the case and look at the inner case, the 3rd dial, and the way that the year is presented as part of that plaque.
Yeah.
It feels in itself like a very unique complication display that would be fantastic by itself on a watch.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I think it would take me about 1 million years to fully appreciate looking at every facet of this watch. It's 1 million years I don't have. I don't have the watch either, so that doesn't help. But I'd sure like to have one. I'd sure like to take the time to properly explore it.
Yeah, because it's beautiful as well. It's not only got all this functionality, but it's actually an amazing work of art. You know, you've got all of JLC's expertise when it comes to enameling and finishing in there, and it's really something.
And it annoys me when people talk about Patek Philippe and AP and Vacheron, as great as they are. Why is this not part of that?
Yeah. It
should be.
Yeah, that definitely needs reassessing, doesn't it? That whole thing.
I mean, let's see, because I'm going to present a watch to you that may change both our minds on that. This is the Vacheron Constantin Le Cabinotier Celestia Astronomical Grand Complication 3600.
Cabinotier. Now, as I understand it, that just means just slang for just straight out of the cabinet, isn't it? Like just off the rail kind of.
Yeah.
This is an off the shelf thing. There's nothing bespoke about this at all.
This is an ill-fitting t-shirt made in China.
Yeah, just straight off the cabinet, you know. I'll have that one.
The Cabinotier collection from Vacheron Constantin is all about pieces a bit like that JLC, where they go, we're not making this to make volume, we're making this to prove a point.
Yeah.
So how many complications did your JLC have?
11.
11. I'll raise you 12.
Yeah.
For a total of 23.
Okay. All right. Is that what we're doing then? We're doing amount of complications. How many years in development hell did yours one spend in? Because the JLC took 6.
6 years.
I don't know if it was hell, but it took 6 years to devise it. So.
Well, I'll tell you what. That took 6 years. This only took 5. So you might see that as a lower top trumps figure, but I'd say that they worked harder and they worked smarter to get that done.
Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? Yeah, good. Yeah, efficient.
Complications per year as a measure. This wins.
Yeah, okay, let's go by that. But this one was more complicated, so it took longer. So swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
So 23 complications. We've got the hours, haven't you? You've got the minutes, you've got perpetual calendar, day-night indication, precision moon phase, age of the moon, running equation of time, sunrise and sunset time, day and night length, seasons, solstices, equinoxes and zodiacal signs, tide level indicator, sun-earth-moon conjunction, opposition and quadrature, transparent sky chart of the northern hemisphere with indication of the Milky Way, of the ecliptic and celestial equator, hours and minutes of sidereal time, tourbillon, 3 weeks of power reserve from 6 barrels, and a power reserve indicator.
Nice. Is it compact and user-friendly like the JLC?
45 millimeters in diameter.
Oh, that's quite large.
13.6 millimeters thick, so that's thinner, but it is... it's definitely Panerai realm of wearability. So I would say if you were going to go out and play some sports, perhaps leave this one at home. But if you're going to go and take the boat out for a spot of fishing, you've got your tide level indicator.
Wow, yeah, that's actually good. But hang on, wouldn't that need to be localized?
Sorry, what?
Your tide level indicator, wouldn't that need to be a localized thing?
Did I say it does sidereal as well?
There was so much...
6 barrels, Tom. 6 barrels.
So much there that I didn't even understand half the words you were saying.
More barrels than a pub.
More barrels than a pirate's shed. I'll come back to that.
I can't answer your question about the tide level indicator. I assume that they have the common fisherman's heart in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of all the things that happen on a cycle that can be measured in a watch. Tide is one of those things, isn't it? When you get to the seaside on that one nice day and you check the board and you go, oh, cool, it's going to be out for a couple of hours. Let's go and sit over there. You could have a watch with that, but obviously that's only going to work. You know, you'd need the Dymchurch edition, wouldn't you? Or, you know, wherever, or Canberra. Like, what's the tide level indicator for this watch?
Well, I guess maybe you can calibrate it to your local area.
Oh, right, yeah, sure.
So you can then look at the dial and, am I go for paddling? Yes or no?
Yeah, paddle visibility indicator would be good, yeah.
Absolutely. But I have to say, this is a much more traditional looking watch. This is very much more in the realms of only two dials. They haven't gone for the 4. And its indications laid out as you would expect, here, there and everywhere as they fit. So from a visual standpoint, it definitely doesn't look as involved and exciting, but you do get more than twice as many complications as the JLC.
Yeah, again, it looks like a relic, doesn't it? It just, if aliens came down and we were all gone and they found this watch, they'd just think, what the hell were they up to?
Yeah, this is one of those things that you would find half buried in mud, and you would wonder how on earth the ancient Mayans built it. Whereas the JLC feels very much like a future where all of the petrol has run out and electricity has left the Earth's atmosphere and gone to a different dimension, and we have to make do.
Yeah, fascinating.
Which would win in a game of Conkers so far, do you think?
Well, the Vacheron is quite a chunker, so I would say that.
Oh, you mean in a literal game of Conkers?
Yeah, what did you mean?
Well, the JLC, you could hold it by the strap and mislead the Vacheron into thinking that the thin part is actually a thick part, and you could be like, oh, you missed the main bit.
You could throw the Vacheron through a jeweller's window as a threatening reminder to pay protection money, couldn't you? And
yeah, with a very clear indication as to when exactly you want that money and at which tide level.
Yeah, next full moon.
Two very traditionally complicated watches here. But we have also seen some other watches that take complications into a very different direction.
Yeah, so mechanical watches needn't all be about moon phases and minute ringers and all that sort of thing. Why not have a watch that looks like a jukebox?
Excuse me?
Yeah, so do you like America?
Who doesn't? I think if I recall, they won all the wars.
Yeah.
Made all the things and are the best at everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the Harry Ramsden Opus 14.
Do you care to adjust that for the viewers who may not know that you're joking?
What did I say?
Harry Ramsden.
Oh, okay, yeah. Harry Winston Opus 14. So this is the 14th in the Opus saga.
Well, yeah, let me give you a little bit of a history on that, because it's quite interesting, actually.
Oh, go on.
Harry Winston, as a jewellery brand, was doing pretty well in terms of its jewellery, but its watches were struggling.
Yeah, right. Predominantly a jeweller for a very long time before getting into watches, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Max Buser, who you may know of MB&F, he was a young upstart, key figure at JLC in turning them around, and he was offered a job as CEO of Harry Winston.
Right.
And he was like, oh yeah, that'd be really cool. Yeah, great for my career. Little did he know that he was inheriting a sinking ship. And so in order to revitalise the brand, he decided to lay down a series of challenges to some of the best watchmakers that have ever existed in modern watchmaking, and said to them, like, as long as it straps to a wrist, go nuts. And they did.
Right.
We have seen some of the craziest level complications that have ever existed in any watches ever, including this Opus 14, and that was the real foundation for Max Buser to decide to go it alone and start MB&F, which works in a similar sort of process. And Opus 14 is the most recent version of that watch. So it's not a watch with a lot of complications. This is a watch with a very crazy complication.
Very unique complication, and a very focused vision for that complication. So the whole thing works around the same premise as how a 50s style jukebox would work. Everything is represented on dials that resemble black vinyl discs that you would find in a jukebox, and the whole thing is styled after this kind of American diner kitsch aesthetic. It looks a little bit like Captain America to me.
It does.
Captain Americana. So you've got the Opus 14 logo is like a sort of American kind of road sign, and just sort of styled like that American diner kind of vibe.
A lot of red, white and blue.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But what happens is there's a switch on the side which allows you to select between different display discs. You can display a GMT, a calendar disc, or there's just one like the Hollywood Hall of Fame star with Harry Winston's logo in it. So you use the switcher to select the display, and then you push a button at 4 o'clock on the case. An arm grabs the disc and pulls it out and puts it in place, and then you can read your GMT function or your calendar function. The home time is localized on its own dial at 9. And there's also a retrograde minutes display. So it's really, really, really fun and really clever, and it definitely is unmistakably a jukebox. It also plays Rock Around the Clock by Bill Haley in the comments as well. If you push, there's a hidden pusher on the side.
I never know if you're joking with this anymore.
Yeah, that's a joke. But yeah, it's got a sort of towering block of sapphire crystal that is all just one single block that's sort of been carved into these layers. Only 1,066 components, not as many as the others, but pretty fun and pretty unique.
I'm kind of surprised that it doesn't come with a miniature mechanical Henry Winkler who changes it by giving it a little whack on the side. Hey.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how you even begin to think of something like this. What an outrageous idea. Frank Orney and Johnny Girardin, I believe, are the two watchmakers involved in conceptualizing and building this thing.
Visionaries.
I'd love to speak to them and look through the lens of their brain to see how they visualize stuff. Who else would go, oh, watches? Oh, you mean like changing records on a jukebox?
That Americana 50s style is very recognizable, but it's perhaps not hugely tasteful, but it sure is fun. And who doesn't like one of those good old style jukeboxes? Everyone wants one of those, don't they?
Oh yeah, that and a flappy paddle game machine whose name has temporarily escaped me.
A pinball machine?
That's the one.
New flappy paddle game machine from MB.
Well, it wouldn't be from MB. Pinball would be from MB, and the store brand knockoff would be Flappy Ball Game Machine. You say this is tasteless.
No, I don't.
You said something like that.
I say I think it's hard for diner kitsch to be tasteful. I think it can sometimes be on the side of tacky. But I think this has managed to do it.
Yeah, I think, first of all, you should start a career as a politician, working your way around you saying it's tasteless. But I think that it embraces it so well Granted, this thing is going to be about £1 bazillion, and they're probably all sold out anyway, with just 50 pieces being made.
Only 50, yeah.
But it's so bonkers that it kind of doesn't matter. This is, you know when someone gets to a certain level of wealth and notoriety that they can start wearing silly hats and start saying things like, "Good day, sir," and it's fine.
Yeah.
This is that watch.
Yeah. Elon Musk in a couple of years, maybe.
Yeah, riding around on a unicycle powered by his own farts wearing this, and everyone will love it.
Yeah. We just hurry up and go to Mars and just leave us alone.